Huffman from Fallen Timbers Family Physicians as the head nurse in February 1990, after working there 34 faithful years. She was well organized, she ran a tight ship, and she made sure everything ran smoothly. And she cared for countless patients through her incredible skills. Now, in a little bit, you'll have time to share memories. Her as a family member, her as a nurse, her as a friend. But as her pastor, I get to the privilege and the honor of sharing with you how she was a good and faithful servant of Christ through the church. I came to serve this church right before Isabelle turned 90. And as I was getting to know this church, every person I talked to, the name Isabelle Ladd always came up. Come to discover there really wasn't anything she did not do in this church. She taught the acolytes how to properly bring in the light of Christ. She was the chair of worship. She was the wedding coordinator, and countless brides are thankful for her strong organizational skills. She helped prepare baptisms and confirmation, and she was the children's coordinator for over 30 years. In this area of service, she touched countless children. Now, when I shared with the congregation that Isabelle passed away, I heard so many incredible stories. How she taught the children of this church the Lord's Prayer, the books of the Bible, the stories of the faith. But she also taught our children of this church a profound level of respect for adults, for the church, and for God. In fact, to this day, congregation members who are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s will not call her anything but Mrs. Ladd. They refuse to call her Isabelle. It is always Mrs. Ladd. She, Mrs. Ladd, strengthened the faith of so many people at this congregation. Isabelle, Mrs. Ladd, was constantly providing for children, for those that she cared for in the doctor's office, for her family, and meeting the spiritual needs of those at this church. She was constantly providing. And so today we can take comfort knowing that God is now providing for her, and she is now at rest. The reason being is that Isabelle had an incredible relationship with Christ. And with that incredible relationship came incredible promises. And so I would like to read to you the Gospel of John, chapter 14, 2 through 3. It says this: "In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go and prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and take you to myself, so that where I am, you will be also." This is the promise that sustains us today, knowing that now Christ is providing and caring for Isabelle. Verse 27 goes on to say so beautifully, "Peace I leave to you, peace I give to you. I do not give as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Do not let them be afraid." Isabelle is now at rest from a lifetime of good and faithful service, a lifetime commitment to her family, to nursing, and to this church. So what would Mrs. Ladd want us to do now that she is no longer here on earth. My guess is she would want us to live as good and faithful servants wherever we are and whatever we're doing. To not waste a second of our life that God has given us. Isabelle lived life to the fullest. She helped and she served so many people. And God has given each of us incredible and precious lives, that we too can live fully and faithfully and well. So today, we celebrate the faithful life of Isabelle. Now, each of you have memories and kind words of Mrs. Ladd. And this morning, the family wanted to make sure that if you wanted to share a memory of Isabelle or Mrs. Ladd, you are welcome to do so. So I will walk around with a microphone and simply raise your hand and I will bring it to you. And you are welcome to share a memory.
You would think I could do public speaking really well, but Isabelle gave me shots in my butt. She measured my confirmation gown. She taught me how to do pickles and pickled beets. She had the best pickled beets. And we would go in her basement and she taught me how to do that. And I have lots of good memories. I just can't spit them out.
Thank you.
When my girlfriends and I talk about my wedding, we refer to Mrs. Ladd as the wedding Nazi. She was very strict when she did weddings. And she was like our grandma to everyone here. And I'm gonna miss her strawberry jam, even though she told me a couple years ago when she said she wasn't gonna make it anymore, that it was just the recipe on the Sure-Gel box.
Yeah, Mrs. Ladd was very strict about everything she did, and it had to be well. One Sunday that my son, when there were acolytes, he came home and he was very sad. I said, "What's the matter with you?" Mrs. Ladd made me do that gown thing over and over and over. Finally, I did exactly the way she was telling me to do it, and she said, "Good job."
When I was a young newlywed, my husband was drafted into the Navy, and after he left for the Navy, we discovered that I was expecting our first child, and he was on an aircraft carrier when our son was born, and out on the ocean, and but he had talked to Isabelle, his sister, and asked her if she would come and be with me during labor since he could not be there. And of course, she was working and had a full-time job, but she took a day off from her job and came and was with me during my labor to have our son. So that has always been very, very special, special memory, and a very selfless act on her part. So we've always really appreciated that. And I know with her last birthday, I wrote her a note and thanked her again for that, because it really, really meant a lot to both me and my husband.
For those of you that don't know, I'm a retired pastor, and I came to join this church because of my cousins. And Isabelle was one of the first people to make sure I knew who she was. She's what we would call a doorkeeper. But also one of the things is that she really enjoyed our congregational caregivers who came and gave her communion when she wasn't able to be with us. And she was just a delightful lady.
There are so many memories, and so throughout today and as you have lunch, I just ask that you continue to share those wonderful memories that you each have. Now, now that we're going to play a CD, and it is her brother Jerry singing. He just had back surgery yesterday and wanted to be here so bad to sing at the funeral, but the doctor has said that he is not allowed to, and so sent a CD for us to play. And the song is In the Garden, and he has sung that at every family funeral. And so we wanted for this funeral as well to have Jerry singing In the Garden.